Hello everyone. Today I'm finally reviewing FF7 Remake. This is a game that I've wanted to make a video about for a long time. If you are a regular viewer of my channel, then you already know how I feel about this game. But if you're not and you're new here, just know that this game and FF7 Rebirth are the reason this channel exists. So that's a bit of foreshadowing as to how this review is going to go. I don't even really know where to start with FF7 Remake, but I guess I'll give a bit of context first. Going into FF7 Remake, I had never played a Final Fantasy game before. I knew of Final Fantasy, and I knew of Cloud and Sephiroth and Lightning from FF13. I had very briefly played a tiny bit of FF13 too, which was obviously very confusing because I hadn't played the first game in that specific trilogy. So I played about 5 minutes of it and that was it. But that was literally my only experience with Final Fantasy. But it's an IP I knew about and I always thought was really cool and I wanted to get into. I just didn't know where to start for ages. But when FF7 Remake came out, I knew that that was it. This was going to be the starting point. I was excited to play FF7 Remake because it looked really good. You know, the graphics looked really good. It had an action battle system and I really like action battle systems. And Cloud. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. So going into it, I was excited and I kind of knew that I was going to like this game. If I'm being honest, it's just one of those games that I had this gut feeling about and I knew this was going to be one of those games that I would enjoy. However, I was not prepared for how much it was about to take over my life because it kind of did take over my life. At the time, I was very much kind of a casual gamer in the sense that I used to play games a lot in my childhood and early teens. But then I kind of lost interest in gaming for quite a few years, kind of fell out of it. I would play the odd game here and there, notably if a new Tales game came out, I would play that, and that would be about it. And then FF7 Remake obviously came out and I thought I want to try this game. And through playing FF7 Remake, that very much kind of changed my relationship with gaming in the sense that I kind of went from being a very casual gamer to eventually having a channel about video games. So, yeah. So my thoughts and feelings on FF7 Remake are from the perspective of someone who, on my first playthrough, because I've played this game twice now, on my first playthrough, I had not played the OG FF7. I'm not someone who grew up with the Final Fantasy franchise whatsoever. I never played any Final Fantasy games as a kid, throughout any of my life up until 2020, when I first played FF7, I was blown away by how cinematic FF7 Remake is and how immersive it is, because I had played a fair few games up until that point, but not many modern games that were kind of AAA status at all. So I had not played any games that were that cinematic before, or that immersive, if that makes sense. This was my first time experiencing a video game like this, and I was amazed that this medium was capable of creating such an immersive experience in this kind of way. And it's not just the modern graphics in the game that does that, that is part of it, but it's also just how cinematic it is, and the music and the soundscape in the game, all of that really does add to the immersion, and it's all really, really well done. And that's another reason why I really like this game. I love a really immersive experience. With media, I want to be completely immersed in what I'm playing, reading, watching. That's just, I like to be consumed by it. Something I noticed about FF7 very quickly is that there is a lot of attention to detail in this game, like a lot. More so than a lot of the other games I had played up until that point. So I was just completely mind blown by it all. Still am, to be honest with you. It's really, they've put a lot of care into this game, in my opinion. There's definitely a lot of love and passion behind it. I know that there's some Final Fantasy fans that feel like it's very cash grabby and just some project that they made just to make money, and it's not got a lot of heart to it. But I didn't feel that about this game at all. For me, it felt like there was a lot of love, care, and effort put into it. So I distinctly remember on my first playthrough being completely amazed by the opening cinematic and just the start of the game where Cloud jumps off the train and you see his face and then it pans around to the back of him and then you start playing the game. That felt really fluid because, again, I hadn't really played any modern games, and to me that was like, oh my God, it's so fluid. It feels like, you know, there was no like load screens. It all just felt like one fluid experience where you were just going, like, there was no cuts between that cutscene and you going straight into the gameplay. It just felt like it was a continuation of the cutscene, and that was insane to me. You might be thinking, well, that's just how modern games are, Laura, nowadays. I know, okay? But your girl hadn't experienced this at that point. So yeah, I think I've spoken enough about the visuals and the graphics and the cinematography. I don't think I really need to go into much more detail about that because it's very obvious that it's very cinematic and graphically looks really good. So I'm going to move on to the battle system. I love the battle system in this game. I know that there's kind of differing opinions on the battle system. It seems to me that overall this is one of the modern Final Fantasies where most people are happy with the battle system. Because I know that a lot of the modern Final Fantasies, there's a lot of mixed opinions on the battle systems, but FF7 Remake and Rebirth seem to have, most people really like the battle system in general, or don't have many criticisms about it. As you know, I like action battle systems. I have come to like turn-based since getting into Final Fantasy, but at the time I didn't like turn-based at all. I was not interested in playing turn-based games. Final Fantasy kind of awoke something in me, I don't know. But yeah, at the time, I was not interested in turn-based stuff. I just wanted to play action games that had action battle systems. I think FF7 Remake is probably a fairly good kind of gateway game into JRPGs in a way, especially for people that just do not have interest in turn-based combat, and that's why they're staying away from JRPGs. Try playing FF7 Remake, because it's not turn-based, but it is a bit of a hybrid. So it's action, but then there's also a commands menu where it pauses the game and you select actions off of a menu. So essentially kind of a hybrid system, but it's definitely at its core an action battle system, really. And then if FF7 Remake successfully drags you in and makes you obsessed, then try the OG FF7, and then maybe that way you'll get into turn-based, because that's what happened to me. So yeah, the battle system in FF7 Remake is very good. It's been built on and improved on a lot in Rebirth, so I do prefer the battle system in Rebirth, but we're not talking about Rebirth today. When it comes to JRPGs, with a lot of them, I wouldn't say that I enjoy going into combat. It's kind of something that I do because I know that I need to level up my characters, or I know that I need to battle against this in order to progress through the story. But it's not something that I'm actively enjoying necessarily in a lot of JRPGs as much. Whereas with FF7 Remake, every time I got into a battle, I was kind of overjoyed. I was like, yes, let's go. Going back to the battle system in this game now might not be as fun after having experienced how much they built upon it in Rebirth, but it's still really good. And even upon replaying the game, I still really enjoyed the battle system a lot. Also, the materia system. The materia system's pretty different to other systems that I'd experienced in other JRPGs. Granted, I hadn't played many JRPGs at that point, but I really like the materia system. The materia system is pretty much the same as it was in the OG FF7. They really haven't messed around with that much. Honestly, it's probably a good thing because it didn't need anything changing about it much. Something I really like is that each weapon in the game has a specific skill/attack designated to that weapon that you can only use when you've equipped that weapon. However, through having that weapon equipped, over time your character will eventually learn that skill, and then it will be part of their permanent skill set, and then you don't have to have that weapon equipped. So that's something I really like about FF7, because that kind of gave me initiative to use different weapons, because I'll be honest with you, with most games, I'll just use whichever weapon is the most powerful, whichever weapon looks the nicest or whatever, and I don't really switch between different weapons or armor very often. I kind of just put stuff on my character, I'm like, that will do. Also, the story in this game kind of blew my mind. I had not experienced this level of storytelling in a video game before. There's a lot of games that I hear have amazing stories that I hadn't played at the time, that I still haven't played. So for me personally, this is coming from someone that hadn't played a lot of the games that had a reputation for having an amazing story. But yeah, it very much just blew my mind that there was this level of storytelling and character writing in a video game. It's not necessarily that I look down on video games as a medium, it's just that it's hard to know these things about a medium if you've never experienced it yourself, you know, in terms of how good it can be. FF7 Remake follows Cloud Strife, unsurprisingly. He's a mercenary, he's working with Avalanche, and that's where the story starts, and I really like that you don't really know much about Cloud at all at the start of the game. All you know is his name is Cloud Strife. He's very good looking and he's very strong. He's an ex-soldier and he's working as a mercenary, and all he seems to care about is money. As the game progresses, you do learn a little bit more about him. There's a lot of kind of foreshadowing and hinting at things going on throughout all of Remake. And also Remake only covers the first portion of the OG game, which is the Midgar section, which in the original game is like 5 hours, but obviously in Remake they've padded it out a lot for it to be its own game. Some people aren't too keen on that, and I can understand that, especially after playing the OG, but I like, for the most part, all of the extra content that they've added in. There's entire sections in this game that weren't in the OG. Some people don't like that. I quite like these additions, really. I think that they flesh out some of the characters more. It makes some of the emotional parts that happen later on in the game more impactful, in my opinion. But I can also understand how you might just want to get through some of it, because upon replaying Remake, admittedly, there were some sections that I thought, okay, this is dragging a little bit, you know, but it certainly wasn't affecting my enjoyment of the game. On my first playthrough, obviously, I enjoyed all of it, and I didn't know that any of this had been extended or padded out or anything, or that any of this was extra content that had been added into the remake specifically. But yeah, on my second playthrough, I was aware of what was extra content and what wasn't, and some of it dragged a little bit more than I remembered it doing so on my first playthrough. But again, I loved it on my second playthrough as well. Still one of my absolute favourite games. And the other thing that I have to touch on with the remake trilogy is this whole timeline thing, changing of fates, all of that stuff going on, because it's made pretty obvious very quickly that there's some funny stuff going on with like destiny and trying to change fate and all that sort of thing going on in the game. And upon my first playthrough, I didn't know whether that was present in the original already or if this was something that had been added into the remake specifically, but I had an inkling that this was probably something added into the remake. It just felt like something that would be a really good opportunity in a remake for players who had already played the OG, for them to have themes of destiny and fate in there, because people will have already played through the OG, know the story. So adding in this kind of, ooh, can you change fate? Maybe things won't play out the same as they did initially this time. That sort of element is something that you can only really have and make this impactful and efficient in a remake of an already existing game. And I know that there's people that really don't like it. And I can understand that, but I really love this element. And it's also because I like the concept of multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, and like parallel universes and all that sort of thing. I'm kind of into that sort of thing anyway. So for me, it's very interesting. And themes of destiny and fate are also very interesting to me. So, you know, this game was kind of made for me, I suppose. It feels like they've done it all really well and very intentionally as well, which I really appreciate about Remake and Rebirth. And next, moving on to the characters. I love the characters in this game. Going into it, I knew that I would like Cloud, not just because he's very nice to look at, but I knew that I would like him because I really like characters for some reason that going into the story, you don't know a huge amount about them and they seem very kind of standoffish and cold-hearted, but there's some sort of trauma going on behind them in their past. And all of that's kind of unveiled through the story. So I was obviously going to like Cloud Strife. I just really like those types of characters anyway, and that sort of character writing. What I didn't necessarily see coming though was how much I would love Aerith and just how well written all of the characters are in this game. Cloud is really intriguing as a character, in my opinion at least. But then all of the other characters are really well written. They're very interesting. I really love how Aerith and Tifa kind of subvert typical female character archetypes in a way, because Aerith appears on the surface by the way she dresses and her like appearance and her character design as very feminine. And I mean, appearance-wise she is, and she's not athletic either. But personality-wise, she's not what you would necessarily expect, because she's very confident. She's a go-getter. She knows what she wants, and she doesn't stand down or step back from if she's decided this is what she's going to do or that's what she wants. She's got a little bit of a stubborn streak to her, Aerith, and she's just very self-assured. And she's got this bubbly personality. I really love that about her. And Tifa you would expect Tifa to be a little more self-assured because of her character design, and she does martial arts, and she's definitely more of an active person than Aerith is. So you'd kind of expect, I guess, Tifa to be more like that personality-wise, but Tifa's actually, you can see that she's definitely not as self-assured as Aerith is, and she doubts herself a lot, and she's much more cautious and unsure of herself in social situations. She's a lot more kind of anxious in general than Aerith is. And I just find it really interesting how they kind of subverted character archetypes in that way. Like, they didn't make them predictable. They didn't make them what you would expect straight away from their character designs, you know, which made them so much more interesting. And maybe I will make a video about how well written female characters are in Final Fantasy games, at least from my experience so far, because Yuna as well, really well written female character. But yeah, Tifa and Aerith are just really, really good representations of women in video games. But anyway, moving on from the girlies, we have Barrett, who's also part of the main team, the main unit in this story, and then in Rebirth. And I love Barrett. Barrett is such a great character as well. He's just, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of impossible not to like Barrett, because he's this really hot-headed character, which is fun and entertaining to watch. But he's not just that. They've fleshed him out in this way that he's like a really big softie, and he really loves his daughter Maylene a lot, and he's just a really soft-hearted person deep down. He's just very kind of, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, you know. And I really like how Cloud is this seemingly very cold-hearted person, very sort of detached. But as you play through Remake and especially Rebirth, there's this vulnerable side of him and this slightly goofy side that starts coming out. And it makes him, you can kind of see that in early parts of the game anyway, but it's definitely more pronounced as you play through it, and especially in Rebirth. And I love that about Cloud as well. Cloud is clearly very socially awkward, and as a fellow socially awkward person, I relate to that a lot. So Cloud and Aerith ended up being my two favorite characters in this game. I love both of them for different reasons, because they're two very different characters. Like, their personalities are very different. So yeah, the characters in this game are amazing. I absolutely love the characters, and I didn't expect that I would become this attached to all of the characters in this game. And then in Rebirth, they're just so well written, really interesting, very charming characters. And they are some of my favorite fictional characters of all time now. They're definitely my favorite video game characters, like as a main crew, you know. They're my favorite JRPG party so far, at least, out of all the JRPGs I've played. And yeah, honestly, what else can I even say about this game? The only real criticisms I have about it is that it really does hold your hand a lot. And I don't just mean in the sense that it's very linear, because FF7 Remake is very linear, but on top of that, it really holds your hand a lot. So there's a lot of guiding going on, and no, you can't go that way because you're supposed to be going this way now. There's a lot of that going on. But that's honestly a very small criticism I have, because I do like fairly linear games. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of open world games. I like things to be kind of focused a bit so that I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, but it does hold your hand a lot in Remake. But I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, because I mean, it makes the game much more accessible for a much broader audience. So although for me personally, especially upon replaying it, I wish that it didn't hold your hand quite as much as it does, but for a first playthrough especially, I don't think it's really a problem. Oh my god, I almost forgot about the music. The soundtrack in this game is amazing. I absolutely love the soundtrack. I have so many songs from the soundtrack on my playlist. All versions of Aerith's theme, obviously, and the Prelude, the main theme as well. Midnight Rendezvous is one of my favorites as well. I love that one. Also Tifa's theme. I love Tifa's theme. Yeah, just the soundtrack in this game is honestly amazing as well. It's one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. Like, I listen to it very often. Honestly, I just need to buy the whole soundtrack on CD, don't I? But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? This is an open space. You can freely say what you think about the game. I might not agree with you, but that's fine. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.